Bonjour, santé.
We welcome you to podcast number 200, and we thank you for following our podcasts, newsletters, and videos. It's been our pleasure to bring you top-quality interviews recorded with some of the finest vintners in the world. We look forward to informing, entertaining, and amusing you with more high-quality programs in the years to come. Join us when we say cheers to podcast number 200. This week, we feature a man that has represented the wine business in the very best way possible, with passion, humor, history, fun, and love. Jean-Charles Boisset was born in Burgundy, so it was no surprise that he would spend his life in the wine business. We've interviewed Jean-Charles several times in the past at many Napa Valley events, but we felt to celebrate our 200th podcast, he would be the perfect vintner to help express our passion for the love of the grape.
Bonjour, santé. Can you hear the beautiful sound of crystal?
Absolutely.
I can hear Burgundy from here. I could certainly smell it.
Everybody should start the day with bubbles.
Specifically this one, don't you think it's telluric?
It's very light, very bright. Good body.
Ethereal, huh? Very cosmic. And let's do that again. I think it's magnetic as well. Boom. Well, just to tell you what we're having, the JCB Infinity, meaning the yin and yang, the figure eight, the transcendental sign of wholeness, and really bringing through its magnetic energy the telluric strength, the earth, and the cosmic, the cosmos. And this wine is one of the first ever organic and biodynamically certified made sparkling wine from Burgundy.
Really? Wow.
Yes, it's a Chardonnay Pinot Noir with a minor touch of Gamay. And this is a very low dosage, so pre-bottling, we do a little bit of a dosage where we add a very small amount of that liqueur and very small, below 8 grams. So it's very pure, as you said. Yes. Has that purity, which I found extremely seductive.
Well, and like certain still wines, this is something great to start the day with because there's nothing wrong with that idea. It is light. It's not like you're going into anything real heavy.
That's right. This is breakfast together.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. We've already started, but we'll start all over again anyway.
Yes.
Introduce
Jean-Charles Boisset from Burgundy and, of course, Napa and Sonoma, hence California.
And we're at Raymond Vineyards today to do the second interview. It was probably about 3 years ago, give or take, when we did the last one, if I remember.
That's right. Thank you. We need to make it every 6 months. So there's not so many things happening in between, but we have so much to catch up on.
But before we go into that, one thing I want to do for our listeners, is to talk about your brands. Obviously, you're in France and you're here in Napa Valley and you're in Sonoma as well. So let's just go through the list of brands because I want people to sort of identify that.
We're very fortunate to be Americano-French or Franco-American. So I'll start with the American side. We have Raymond Vineyards here in Saint Helena, where we're very fortunate to be today. We have Buena Vista Winery, one of the most historical winery in the heart of Sonoma and Napa Valley, which really created both in 1857. We have the JCB Tasting Lounge and Gourmet Boutique in Yonville, which is all about the JCB wines. We have naturally Deloach Vineyards in the heart of the Russian River, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and of course, cool climate Zinfandel. Leith Estate in Alexander Valley, focusing on Cabernets specifically. And of course, Wattle Creek Winery, which is our latest coming into our fold and collection of wineries, which is in Alexander Valley as well. And of course, we have Lockwood, which is in the Central Coast.
And you also have something going on in the city as well.
For sure, we have the JCB Lounge at the Ritz-Carlton, which is a great place where we welcome every guest in that beautiful historical building. And we have as well Wattle Creek Winery with a tasting room at Ghirardelli Square in the historical square of San Francisco.
Excellent. Well, you don't rest. You don't seem to take any time off. You're so much part of Napa Valley, being that you're French makes it that much more fun.
Thank you.
I'm just blown away at how much work you put into what you do.
Well, we're very passionate, And we're very fortunate to have an amazing team of collective minds, always working together towards attempting to achieve unique experiences. And this is why, obviously, Napa Valley has been the epicenter, the beginning, kind of the catalyst location. And we decided to continue to expand and create very unique experiences and bring our guests something that is that je ne sais quoi, that art of life, that way of living, that explosion of life that makes all our senses vibrate and resonate around the world. So this is really who we're trying to be.
And this is home for you now, as well as you still have, obviously, you still go back to France from time to time.
Of course. I'm in France quite a bit. I'm off there in a few weeks, in fact, but I love being in California. I love America. I've been in love with America forever, since birth, of course. You know, when you're born in 1969, when the American landed on the moon, you can only be in love with the United States. And I had the pleasure to come here since the age of 11 and contagiously be taken in by the country, its people, its energy, its dynamism. So, in one word, I love it.
Well, 1969 was a very special year. Some of us actually remember 1969. But it was an incredible year. I mean, musically, it was the end of the 60s. You know, you were heading into a totally different decade. And you kind of came along with that whole start, didn't you?
That's it. I was one of the songs coming in. And I love it because the 60s are really much a symbol for the Europeans about America, which is the era where you continue to lead, but you really led in a very big way around the world as a lifestyle, as an art of life, as, you know, joie de vivre that America has, and not taking yourself seriously, swinging and rocking, having fun, and being an amazing magnetic society. So that really, I believe, has a lot to do of why I love the U.S. so much.
I want to talk about the bubbles for a minute here. You know, you're probably one of the best promoters of bubbles
Thank you.
I've ever met. Well, and it's a thing, too, is that getting people to understand that this is something you should have every day, anytime. It's not, you know, just a special celebratory wine. This is something that you can have any day, anytime you want.
Well, we're the prime example of it now. It's breakfast. We don't have cereal, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not watching, you're listening. We're having pure bubbles. And those bubbles are electrifying our body, electrolyzing our body, and giving us that supreme energy that we're going to need for the entire day. So there's no time for bubble. And you said it right. We love bubbles at different dosage, meaning a different level of sugar into them, because that allows us to enjoy them throughout the day. And very fortunately, I've been in love with bubbles forever, so I don't consider a day without drinking half a bottle of bubbles, at least. And it's very quick, you know, a few of those lovely glasses and you had half a bottle. So I love the celebration aspect of it, but as well the daily life of it. Bubble as well have the ability to cleanse on your palate, to prepare the acidity, the richness, the sugar, the salt, and all the elements that you could find in your mouth, and evens it out. So it prepares it not only for food, but for other wines to come. So that's why starting with bubbles and finishing with bubbles is the best.
I agree, especially, starting at tasting, because it's a treat for people who don't expect that.
That's right. And I think, you know, when you take a bath, what about having a glass of bubbles? When you get ready at night, if you go to a function or you go and visit friends, have a glass of bubbles. At aperitif at 11:30 before lunch, have a glass of bubbles. So the whole idea for me of bubble is a preparation, an escalation, an elevation to where you're going to go next. And that first step, I think, is essential because, again, it has that ability on your palate to exercise such a moment of preparation. Sure. You know, so I love that platform. On top of it, I love to take bubble bath too. And if you want to know more about it, I can go on and on.
I'm getting all kinds of information I'm not sure about. Are you making all of your bubbles in France, or are you making bubbles here in the U.S. too?
So we are making bubbles in France, throughout France, in the Loire Valley, in the south of France, in Burgundy, of course, in the Côte d'Or, very prominently, as well as in California. So we make bubbles in Carneros, and we make bubble in Sonoma Coast, and of course in the Russian River. So we have quite an extensive programs of bubbles. We produce over 12 different bubbles. And recently as well, we've entered the world of Champagne as Champagne France. So we thrill because we really want to cover two grounds specifically. Burgundy, very important for the JCB history and heritage and where we started, as well as California, of course, with Buena Vista and the JCB bubbles from Sonoma, and naturally Champagne because Buena Vista was the first to really create méthode champenoise or méthode traditionnelle in 1862 in the heart of California.
And you made a lot of changes over it, just to kind of go down that path for a minute. At Buena Vista, you've brought it back to its great history.
Well, thank you. You know, bringing something back is going to take a long time, but we'll take the credit. And thank you for the compliment. We really started an unbelievable turnaround of going back to the source and really bringing Buena Vista and what it's great about. Buena Vista is fine wines. Very high quality wine from 15 to 18, all the way to $200 to $300 a bottle. So we have an amazing range of both Sonoma and Napa wines because Buena Vista started both. You know, it's at the boundary of both. As Persepolis could be the gate of civilization, Buena Vista is at the gate of viticulture. It's really the one who really created modern viticulture to its extent and really launched the two valley, both Sonoma and Napa. So we just released an amazing Chateau Buena Vista Cabernet, a private reserve as well, Cabernet from Napa Valley. And we've launched a Champagne from Champagne. So it's not only the French coming to the wine country of California, it's the American going to Champagne now. And for the first time in history, going there and making Champagne as such.
My God.
Well, I'm specifically excited, if you wish, as you could tell, because, you know, Mumm, Chandon, Roederer, Tétinger, and many others came here, which is great. And I'm certainly very admirative of what they've done. And they're setting up a great example for all of us to follow. Now, how cool is it for Buena Vista, 150 years later, to go back to Champagne, where the son of the Count, Arpad Harasti, learned how to make it at De Venoge, and we back 150 years later and making Champagne in a beautiful bottle and releasing in the country of France and the US.
It's full circle, really.
It's full circle. And I don't see why the wine world should be one way. The wine world is a planet which is in rotation, constant movement, constant rhythm. It's a constant pendulum swinging, not even back and forth, but maybe forward. Because I don't like going backwards, I like being forwards. Here we're just looking at the past and innovating for the future.
Acknowledging the past, because you have to acknowledge it. I mean,
that's a very good word. You said it, acknowledging the past.
Sure, exactly. As I said when we started the interview, we're here at Raymond, and you've done also some incredible things here. Needless to say, when we come to some of the events you have here.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for inviting us. They're
Always.
Fabulous events because people are always talking about them, especially for auction, but for some of the other things you've done here.
Thank you.
That really represents Napa in the best. You talk about not taking things seriously and really having fun. That's what it's supposed to be about, isn't it?
Well, a winery is a sense of place. We should not use the word terroir lightly. Terroir means place, earth, energy, soil, of course, as earth, but its pedological formation and geological stratification, as well as the people and their passion. A winery is a place where people should meet and exchange and be inspired, not just being sold wine. It's not just a cathedral where we make wine and that's all it does. A winery has multiple purposes, just like a living room or the dining room where everything can happen in someone's house. From conversation to great meals to great food and wine pairing, it's all about the experience. So we're very fortunate to be in the heart of Napa Valley or with Buena Vista, Sonoma, or Deloach, Russian River. We should always, as far as our vision and mission, is to educate people through the art of the earth. What is the ecosystem telling us and showcasing it? This is why here we have a theater of nature where you can learn about what is organic farming and biodynamic farming. Then we take them inside the winery and we escalate their senses through the pool of fabrics, where we correlate the words we use to describe wine into material and tangible things that you could touch, like a wine is furry, a wine is leathery, a wine is silky. What does that really mean? So people can really correlate the words to the experience. Same with the senses, the aromatic expression. Same with the feelings. Same with the educations, from how to drink wine from a decanter, which is one of our class, to food and wine pairing, to tasting on barrels, to making wine yourself. And this is one of the coolest experiences I think we have at Raymond, is you can actually make your own blend. So last week, we had some people making wine with us as an example, and those ladies had a preconceived ideas about Merlot. We don't like Merlot anymore. They tasted Merlot individually, and then as a part within the blend, they suddenly said, I love Merlot again, and I know its meaning. And then we allow people, as simply as that, to have a glass of wine in our grove or outside or in the winery, and more importantly in the red room, which is, I believe, a room you specifically enjoy. And why it's so important is for people to stop thinking about where they're from, who they are, where they're going, the worry of their job, the worry of their monetary issues, or their children's, or parents, or illness, or whatever it is that every one of us encounter, and nobody's an exception. But to go on a journey, to go on a departure, to go on a sense of dreams and a sense of escape. So winery is meant to be an escape. Yes, we make great wines, but many of us make great wines, and as we should. If we granted the responsibility of Mother Nature, we'd better do our best and paramount what she gives us to give the best out of her and to showcase the best of what she does. That should be our mission and our core value, which it is for us. This is part of our ethical commitment to Mother Nature. But in addition to that, you want to educate people. So we have a whole room about the map of Napa Valley and the 11 different soils of the different districts. We have another area where people can actually really understand about vegetables and gardening and composting and insectaries and all that at play. That's why we call it a theater. So we feel, as much as Buena Vista, it's about history and the history of this amazing country, California and the United States. We got to create greater experience. We have an opportunity to bring people in our world. Let's make sure we leave them shaking, vibrating, being magnetically influenced by who we are and what they take away. Because the biggest compliment we have for the experience like wine and music that we give in this very specific room, we serve you one wine and we play 5 different musics. And the music, as you know, have a huge influence on how you taste and what you discover in a wine. And the beauty of it is, whether you put Elvis Presley, Lady Gaga, or Edith Piaf, or even Frank Sinatra, for a Pinot Noir or Cabernet, you're going to vibrate differently and you're going to enjoy the wine at different levels of notes, because your brain is so powerful that it translates it in different modes and different areas of it. And people are mesmerized by it. So I really believe, and it's a long way to answer your question, but I think the mission of a winery is much greater than its stricto sensus definition of making wine or being a tasting bar. It needs to be an inspirational destination where people are taken on a journey, people escalate in dreams and discover themselves.
It's such an incredible way that you put it, but it's also this, yes, it's this idea of taking people further in this experience. It's the education, it's the fun. You're combining all the things perfectly. So my compliments. You guys.
Well, thank you. And you are very lucky, obviously, to have been passionate about wine, to have discovered wine for a long time, and you know it very well. And you obviously vibrate for it to the point of all the great things you do. And you make people vibrate through it, through the radio programs, the videos, and all the great things you do. You've been given that destiny and that gift for some time. We're not all as fortunate. And wine is such part of society. Wine is part of history. Wine is part of the Torah, the Bible, to every single religious piece since the beginning of time. Even the Chinese, 6,500 years ago, were drinking wine, as we all know. So wine is the essence, as much as beer and other distillation products. We should never see them as enemy, but friends. Never abuse of them, but indulge reasonably to the level we want and pair them, because the liquid elixir is as important as the solid one. We're having great cheeses and pâtés and great hams today with the bubbles and more with the wines we're going to try. We've been given that unbelievable gift from Mother Nature to learn how to enjoy. And I believe there's a whole education in learning how to enjoy. One can eat in their car at 75 miles an hour a pack of potato chips and, an enhanced bar, have fun, but the moment they discover that pure, beautiful tomato, organically grown, with that piece of Comté cheese and that beautiful baguette or pâté, and having it on the side of our walls and looking at the landscape of Napa Valley with a great glass of Cabernet, that's true luxury. And our task, eventually our mission in life, is to help people discover those pleasures of life. They could be simple or very sophisticated. We can talk about caviar and ossietra and beluga and pata negra hams and San Daniele, or as simply a tomato we go and pick in the garden. We enjoyed its beautiful flavors, and that's it. And that's luxury. Luxury is the moment people start to be able to realize they're enjoying life. That's pure luxury. And our role is that key, like you're doing magnificently with your interviews and the great content you're building all those years, is really allowing people in their car or at home to listen to you and to people passionate, and hopefully to open a new drawer in their heart and a new awakening. Because life is about enlightenment. The moment individuals stop learning, they don't evolve as fast. Luckily, as human beings, that present progressive is very powerful. We keep learning. We keep becoming something different that we are meant to be. And that evolution, thanks to everybody we meet in the way, and along the way, like we've had together, we've learned from one another a great deal over the years, is all those encounters allows us to build a greater personality that we eventually have, and we accumulate, and we celebrate. One is that gift to civilization, right? That ultimate agricultural product, which is the most refined, the grapes. That's the most difficult to cultivate, the most challenging, the most expensive, the most luxurious, the most unique. But the effect of that natural fermentation touches every skills on the planet. So why wine interests so many people is because it's about art, it's about fashion, it's about literature, it's about talking and emotion and feelings and vibration. It's about personality, it's about style, it's about color, it's about smell, it's about touch, it's about visual, it's about architecture, it's about design, it's about light, it's about everything that we represent. Wine happens to summarize in that 750 ml with a cork, often or not, depending how it's served, the absolute integration of Mother Nature and our planet.
I agree.
And without the integration of the world at large, the galaxies, and all the constellations, wine never tastes the same. And is never the same. So it takes everything into account and needs everything to account for its account. If you see what I mean.
do see what you mean.
It needs everything to be this personality. Without taking into account for us in the wine we're tasting right now, the movement of the earth, the stars, the sun, and the moon, that close interconnectivity or interrelationship, there's no phenomenal wine as such, because if we don't study the rhythm of Mother Nature, thanks to its element, we don't produce the quality of wine we have. So that je ne sais quoi makes a wine that is better than the average. And suddenly, when there's a perfect osmosis between the being, physical being that we are, and the world around it, and this actual gift of God, that berry, that's where that je ne sais quoi happened, that ultimate taste that is phenomenal.
This is a real simplistic question, but I'm curious. I mean, considering all the vineyards you own, the business you're involved in, do you ever take the time, have the time, more realistically, to simply walk the vineyards?
Oh, I love it. Of course, I take the time, but I need the time to work the vineyards. I love jogging naturally. Lately, because of a little bit of a knee issue, I haven't done as much. But I'm very fortunate that I've been on the vineyards all my life. I was born in a vineyard. Very fortunately in Burgundy, my playground was the vineyard. There was not a lot of grass. I was in the Clos Vougeot vineyard. And you may say I was very lucky, of course, because this is one of the finest white wine and red wine in Vougeot. Identically here, you cannot avoid the vineyard, but I think the vineyard is an inspiration as well. So you cannot not walk in the vineyards. I think touching, feeling, understanding leaf, photosynthesis, the rootstocks, the earth, the plowing to the pruning are so many important steps. And I spend a lot of time in the vineyards. My number one point of interest has always been the vineyards, the land. Obviously today I spend a lot of time stylizing, blending, playing with the definition of a style of a wine, and I'm very, very involved there. But I've always loved, since birth, the vineyards. I love Mother Nature. I adore what the rootstocks and the photosynthesis is giving us. Can you imagine that from that amazing activity of caressing this vineyard, it gives birth to that beautiful cluster that evolves over time, that we treat like ourselves, like a child, and suddenly we harvest and become something else? I mean, when you think about a personality evolution and a transformation, there's nothing better than a grapevine. It is nothing from a leaf to a burgeon, to a formation of a grape cluster, to a harvest, to a liquid, that then we basically treat as divinity.
The whole process is stunning unto itself, Mother Nature at its very best. And in any agricultural product, it's just grapes being one of the more enjoyable ones.
Well, can you believe, I mean, it's great to harvest beets, but beets become either the beautiful vegetable we have, or food for animals, which is certainly not bad either, or eventually a distillation to produce spirits. But when you think about grapes, how lucky are we? I mean, I love French fries as a Frenchman for potatoes, but besides a few things, the evolution of a potato is not as graciously noble as grape can be. I mean, it was born in your backyard, and it could become enjoyed by the most unique people around the planet in the finest tables with the finest dish, in the finest conversation. Imagine when you start to think about the journey, and we need to spend ourselves more time counting the journey that I just described, is absolutely magical. You're born in the middle of nowhere, in the center of France, Burgundy, Vougeot, or in the middle of nowhere, 2 hours north of San Francisco, Napa Valley, and you suddenly enjoyed at the White House with a variety of incredible people from around the world deciding the destiny of the future of our planet. Pretty cool travel.
Pretty amazing.
I mean, from a humble beginning to a most noble evolution, this is what wine is about. Yeah. So if you decide for us, as us, to treat the grape at its very, and I don't mean it purely in a stratification of society, but in that very aristocratic evolution, this is phenomenal. That this humble little grapes born in this St. Helena is going to one day be enjoyed at the French White House, or at 10 Downing Street, or in someone's wedding, or in someone's baptism, or for someone's celebration, or even for someone's celebration of life and departure to another life. I mean, we are part of every key critical moment of life. And this is why a winery should never be just a winery and looking at barrels and tanks. It should be an illumination. It should be a place where you leave and you want to come back. A place you never want to leave. And we have to actually pull you out because we have to eventually close. And that's why it's so important for all of us to think just beyond purely the grape itself.
Sure. I think people do have a hard time leaving the winery, leaving a valley, leaving the vineyards, especially this time of year during harvest. The future, especially your future here in the valley. What do you see? What's in your own particular crystal ball?
Well, my own crystal ball is...
Oh, there it is. We have the crystal ball.
We have the crystal ball. So, I'm going to hold it.
I meant to ask that question just so everybody knows that. I saw.
So this is my crystal ball. First, it's crystal baccarat. And I believe somehow magnifying the future. I think what is very interesting is I see an amazing, incredible future for wine at large. So if we talk about the planet, first, the sphere at large, I believe generations to come and come and come would only love more and more the grapes and what comes out of it. That's obviously statement number one. Number two, there are a few key regions that makes me vibrate. So as you kindly ask, our future, we feel that the regions we're in, from Burgundy to the south of France, from Napa Valley to Sonoma to Carneros to Alexander Valley to Central Coast, are really fantastic region. So we see a consistent and constant search for excellence and willingness to make a difference by enlightening our guests. So I see us continuing to build greater experience, refining the one we have, continuously making greater wines, and bringing more unique sights to who we are, and creating even more wines that are unique. As an example, JCB number 3 that you know is the blend of 2 countries, Burgundy, Côte de Nuit, and the Côte of Sonoma. 5 vineyards in Sonoma, 3 in Burgundy. The association of the two, the marriage, the union, is greater than the parts. It's magical. It was very dairy. It was very bold. It could have been a sacrilege. But the result is fantastic, to the point that the result is an orgasm of flavors and pleasures. I'm honestly so proud of it. I tasted it with people from Bordeaux a few days ago, and they were so transported. They said, we cannot believe Pinot could be so exuberant and earthy at the same time. So I see in our crystal ball, as a great future, a continuous continuum of search of quality. Each of the region doing their best in what they're good at. Napa Valley, Cabernet, and Merlot. I mean, the Merlot, which comes out of our estate here in Rutherford, is unbelievable. It's one of the best Cabernet-style Merlot that you could feel. And it's amazing, and it's refined and delicate and elegant. 2, as well, being very innovative in how we present wine, how we brand wine, and how we create blends as well. And we bring a certain creativity, like people in the perfume world, which would bring lily and valley and roses together as scents, or roses and eventually orchid together. I mean, Shalimar Guerlain, as he was walking to the gardens of India at the Taj Mahal, had the ideas of spices that he brought together. And in 1895 and 1913, creating one of the best perfume of all time, Shalimar from Guerlain. A creation unheard of. Bring exotism and the south of France together. I say chapeau, this is great. So I see as well the world of wine becoming more inventive and more dairy, and eventually, hopefully, more innovative. Yes, we should make great Cabernets in Napa Valley, but there's maybe other forms of Cabernet. Finally, I would like to say that at Raymond, we've brought a new style of Cabernet to Napa Valley. In 2009, we've elected to bring a team of phenomenal ladies to make our wines, Stephanie Putnam and Kathy George, and they really brought femininity and finesse and elegance to bold, big, highly alcoholic and tannic wines. Today, the Raymond style is very refined, very well integrated. You feel the oak, but you're not overwhelmed by it. So I think that's part of a certain future. Finesse, elegance, sophistication. And what we're doing is really celebrating the art of the table, showing people how to set the perfect table, how to serve wine, how to craft wine, going beyond purely wine, and ultimately coming back to our first point in discussion is the experience of wine. And we feel that's extremely critical because not everybody was taught how to set the table, how to set your fork and your knives and your different glasses for different wines or your decanter, and why carafing a wine and why giving it oxygen and why carafing it 2 hours before dinner or before you're going to enjoy it, and what to do with sparkling wine and so forth, or savoring wines. All those activities, I think, will be part of a greater future where people will become more transcendental into how they approach wine and building more around wine than just purely wine itself.
Do you ever teach people how to saber?
Oh, I love it. Absolutely. And we created a new saber, which is really, really cool. And it's in titanium, it's black, and it's called JCB saber. And we love it because it's part of our daily life. We saber all the time.
I'm going to go back to Stephanie, who we've talked to in the past. And Stephanie's fantastic. I love talking to her. You have now 2 women winemakers. There are more women winemakers in the business than there ever have. And it's a great thing because women, I think, sometimes bring different kinds of sensitivity. Is that a fair thing to say?
Oh, absolutely. So, first, your question on women, you got to realize I was very fortunate, and I'm very fortunate, to have an amazing mother and 2 unbelievable grandmother, great aunts, incredible women surrounding myself, including, of course, today, my sister. So I've been inspired by women all my life, and I've always adored women, not only by their purely sculptural, gorgeous attributes and their style, and I love femininity. And I'm in love with women at large. Not physically necessarily, but very attracted to the human mind as well. Sure. And my grandmothers taught me so much. I mean, I don't know much, but the little I know, they really had a huge influence on me. So we've always believed in women and wine. I've seen my mother, as a witness, as one of the best tastes in the family. I mean, you would ask me who tastes better at home, my mother or my father? And I'm sure my father would not be very happy with what I'm going to say, but my mother is a more refined, more sophisticated wine palate. My sister is a very good wine palate. She's very Burgundian, so it's difficult to take her away from Burgundy. And she's very nationalistic about her background as a Burgundian, but she's very talented as well. So luckily, to give you backgrounds, I've believed in women, in wine, food, at large, forever. As chefs, forever. In the perfume world, women are amazing. So why not in the wine world? So we've been surrounded, and we have over 12 lady winemaker today in our portfolio of wineries. And Kathy George had been with Walter Raymond for 25 years. She's still with us today. And we were very honored and excited when Stephanie decided to come on board, because we thought femininity and that sensitivity and talent of emotion could really help Napa Valley and us at large. So not only she is very talented, but the vibration of both have really taken Raymond as a leading winery in the heart of Santa Helena and Rutherford as part of a lot of other women now coming on board as winemakers. I don't need to tell you as well that I share my life with a lovely lady, Gina, who is a winemaker and a very talented one as well. So all that being said, I'm surrounded by women. Most likely my twin ladies will have a great interest in wine. In any case, they won't have the choice.
I don't think so.
So I will be very autocratic in that sense. They will have to in many ways, as much as you could be with young ladies, but I could see already in them a lot of great talent in knowing how to taste.
How old are they now?
5. And that's really when I started to taste wine very seriously. But it was another era, so today they pay attention, but not as deeply as we used to, because our world was more disciplined than the 21st century. But I could tell you, women are phenomenal. Women are exceptional, and it's very important to really understand the word in what it means. Are marvelous, are understanding, and have 7 senses. So they have more than we do. They sense more than we do as male. And this is proven, in fact. And it is the truth in the world of wine. So I'm flabbergasted and thrilled that we have so many women in our organization at large, and specifically in the winemaking and viticultural world.
Excellent, excellent. Well, you know, I could sit here and chat with you all day long, which unfortunately we can't do that. So I want to
welcome it anytime.
Well, and I appreciate that, and we'll be back probably sooner than you think. But
can we make sure we commit to something today? We
absolutely.
don't wait 3 years.
I have no problem with that at all.
cheers to that.
Cheers.
In the eyes, be careful, it's 7 years of bad something. I forgot what it is, but...
I have no idea.
So let's do it again.
All
So
right.
you're forgiven. Oh, good, you're forgiven now.
Thank you. For our listeners who'd like to learn a little bit more about you and Raymond or any of your wineries, how would they do that?
Well, the best way is maybe on our website, boissetcollection.com. So Boisset is BOISSET, collection.com, RaymondVineyards.com, Buenavista Winery.com, or JCBcollection.com.
I think just entering your name up pretty much will come up most of the time.
Well, we hope it would, and if it doesn't, they're welcome to call us here, 1-800-878-1123.
Very good. Jean-Charles, thank you very much for your hospitality. Thank everybody here for what you guys have done for helping us out with this. So cheers.
Our pleasure. Always. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Voila!
Learn more by visiting boissetcollection.com.
Thanks for listening, and remember to like us on Facebook. Also, check out our YouTube channel.
Life Between the Vines is produced at Fifth Floor Recording Company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Produced and edited by Ray Pfister. Theme song and original music written and recorded by Tim Dondarevo. Our host is Kay Paskoff. Web design by Jenny Holland. Our graphics and website specialist is Lawton Hall. Our intern is Eden Herbert. Our web geek is Dan Gieshin. Photos by Jeanette Hernyak. Copyright 2016.